This sound was recorded on the 29th of August, 1962.
No, thank you.
Good. Why are you laughing?
You, the way you come, as much as say, well, I've done my bit, now I'm off.
Well, these days I don't really look in.
I know, why that, Nicky? Talk to me a little.
It's not my thing, is it now? I mean, they sort of take over, especially for you.
Why?
Well, she's special, ain't it?
Eh?
Special.
Oh, I see. Well, I don't know, darling, I don't know. It's just much of a
I
surprise.
feel like the postman who delivers the letters now. I just deliver it and go off.
Oh.
You read the inscription in it.
Mm.
I don't mind. I'm not complaining.
No, you shouldn't mind. You go off to your spears and come back.
Oh, no, I'm not going to go and come back. I'm staying here listening. I might learn something.
Well, there are many here, Nicky.
Crowds.
Crowds.
Innumerable people.
I wish you'd tell me some more about Lucius.
Oh, he's something to tell you. He seems to be able to tell you plenty. It's up to him, isn't it?
Eh?
It's up to him. Well, what do you want me to tell you anyway?
I'd like you to tell me.
Tell you what?
Tell me about him now.
Well, Leslie is a very remarkable person and a very old soul and a very wonderful philosopher and teacher.
Is he?
Well, of course he is. That's obvious, ain't it?
Yes, of course it's obvious.
Makes me feel like a pygmy.
Oh, they've been going mad over books and things now. How true he is, Nicky. Have you gone?
The child is still here.
Ah,
But
yes.
he realizes that he makes way for the power of the Spirit and the truth of the Spirit, of which I am but the messenger.
Yes, Lucius.
Like unto myself, he also is one who comes to serve. And there are times when it is necessary for some of us to hold our peace and to stand in the background while others take their place. He is a great soul, old in wisdom and in truth and knowledge. He comes to you in the guise of a child, but behind the childlike mask is one of great integrity and great experience. But he assumes this mask of comedy because it is his part to play and the way in which he best can serve. And he has served for many years in this capacity, and all here have great regard and admiration for him. But he knows that the work that he has done for so long shortly will cease, and that the work of the Spirit in the highest possible sense will commence. But he will be one of the band nevertheless, and from time to time will manifest, make himself known, and assist where possible. But he knows that the efforts that he has made in the past, which have borne much fruit, those efforts which he has indeed made on behalf of so many, have in a sense opened doors indirectly to those of us who now come. He is one of us, he is one of our group, but he realizes that the part that he has to play is almost finished from the point of view of being active. But that is another story. I have come to talk with you in the sure and certain knowledge that you will manifest these things to others, and that when you yourself yourself and finish your earthly tasks, that those efforts that I have made and others have made on your behalf, that they will continue through the instrument I now use, and these things shall be taken down and shall one day be ready for all to read. This is the purpose of our effort and our work, not for selfish ends, not for one individual, but for all who will listen, for all who will read. That is the purpose and the meaning of all that I and others do and shall do. That all shall have enlightenment, all shall know truth, if they themselves will open up their minds to it. There are many who are not ready yet to receive. There are those who at the moment are perturbed and disturbed in their minds concerning these things, which that in itself shows that they are still held in fear. But the time shall come when many shall be released, and they shall open their hearts and minds, and we shall enter, and we shall give to them that truth which will make them free, and give to them that knowledge and that certainty of things to come, that will uplift and inspire and guide them in the future years of thy head. Be not disturbed yourself if there are times when it seems that all is pointless, or all is fruitless in the efforts that you make. You cannot tell how often a seed that is sown one day shall flower and shall bring great joy to many in consequence. Last time I spoke to you about what is commonly termed Atlantis, or as we prefer to call it, Lemuria.
Yes.
Lemuria was a great civilization, but we must realize and remember that Lemuria itself was a huge continent, and there were many, many peoples who were in ignorance, who were by no means developed, and who, as I've said previously, were very like unto the animals. But there were a race of peoples highly advanced, highly spiritualized, very much in tune and in harmony with the things of spirit, who were able to communicate, not even as I communicate with you, but they were able to communicate in a much more direct and personal way. They were inspired, and they had the power to see into the ether, or to see into the atmosphere, were able to transmit messages over vast distances without the aid of such things as you have today, of wireless and television. They were able to do it by the projection of thought, and the waves in the atmosphere carried those thoughts, and they were received and transmitted constantly, and not only to the earth, but to the peoples of spirit also. They knew a great deal about spirit communication, and they received many warnings from our side of life in regard to the conditions which might eventually prevail, which eventually, of course, came into being in such a way that they were not able even to protect themselves, though they received many warnings in regard to the dire consequences of the conditions around and about them. about the evils in their midst, but they themselves did very little to protect themselves. They were a race of people who were highly intelligent and highly evolved, but in spite of this, there were those elements, as I said, who eventually brought upon them that destruction. The evil that overcame them was so powerful, so strong, that though it seems, as I say these things to you, a great injustice that such a race of people so progressed and so spiritually minded should be overcome, we must remember that many things which seem on the surface and at the time unjust or unfair are not so. For we do not, as you know, think anything of death as such. Those high souls had no fear of death, and when we gave them warnings, or they received warnings in regard to the evils around and about them, which they of course abhorred and endeavoured to subject and to stamp out, but they would only do it through love and through kindness, which was no armour and no protection. But because of their high-mindedness, they would not resort to war, and in consequence eventually they were overcome. But as I say, death to these people who had so far progressed meant nothing in itself. They were not afeard of death. They were in a sense more afeard of earthly existence. Not that they had cause in a sense to fear it, because their lives in so many ways were spotless. They lived a very high form of life, but because they were themselves so highly elevated in mind and in spirit, and so in tune with spirit, that the actual process of dying, whatever the cause may have been, was of no consequence, no fear to them. And after they were overcome by all these evil forces that were let loose among many of the tribes and the peoples, there was in Lemuria for many centuries much evil, much that caused great concern and great sadness to those souls and spirits. Among them many, of course, of those who had been brutally killed in the uprising that had taken place previously. And many of the souls from this side endeavoured to assist these peoples, but they had so, as it were, taken upon themselves the evil influences that they lived a life which was so appalling and so materialistic that eventually they were themselves destroyed. But they were destroyed by a phenomenon which I myself refer to as natural law, because all that happens in nature is natural law, though it seems often not so, but it is so. And that great continent which was destroyed, and much that had remained of the old civilization which had been so long in ruins, much that had been destroyed was submerged and lost forever from the world. But there were some who escaped. And among these that escaped were all manner of peoples, and all manner of condition of men and tribes, and some of the highly evolved souls who had escaped the slaughter. And they were very few. And they had center. They were saved, as indeed were others saved of the evil races. And thus it is that in your present civilization you have various nationalities or races of people. The ancient Incas, the ancient Japanese, and also the Anglo-Saxons, the English, and also the French. All these are descendants, and many others, of many of these races that were destroyed, majority destroyed in this catastrophe. Because when Lemuria was destroyed, though much was submerged, here and there small parts remained, like unto islands, and parts adjoining other continents remained, and some escaped. Few. But they built up new civilizations which which you have come to accept, and you call them by other names, and they eventually develop their own particular civilizations. And so it is that you have the colored races, you have the white races, you have the yellow-skinned, the dark-skinned, and the white-skinned. And as you go back into their history, you'll find many of the old religions which go in themselves way back to the time of the Atlanteans, the Lemurians. Traces in most religions can be found of ancient Lemuria. And here and there you will find on the continents slight remains of these civilizations, and I think yet to be discovered many things appertaining to these peoples. Unfortunately, history has also submerged a great deal of truth over the centuries of time. There are, in various countries today in the world, traces of Lemuria, and Lemurian rites, Lemurian religions, and here and there a resemblance of the main truths that the good peoples of Lemuria brought into being. Some of the present discoveries that man has made are not new. Most, and many others, which have not yet been rediscovered, were known to the Lemurians, to the educated, mentally and spiritually educated Lemurians. It's very difficult for us to depict or describe and dissect all these varying peoples, because it is so long ago, and the peoples that remain who are their descendants in your present world are so different in themselves, because over the centuries of time they have changed physically, and they have changed in their outlook, and they have changed in their religious beliefs beyond recognition. But here and there are still traces of the ancient wisdoms, of the ancient truths. One of the greatest races known to have existed, and possibly the true peoples in the true tradition of the higher souls of Lemuria were the Incas, a race of people very little known about who lived a civilization which was highly evolved on a high spiritual level. They worshipped the sun, but they also knew not just of the sun's life-giving force and power and radiance, but they also knew of the power that came from the elements, the power of life, the power that was used by them in many ways to create, and which they were able to harness indeed to some extent, not so much possibly as the ancient Lemurians, but a lot of the knowledge, a certain amount of the knowledge of the ancient Lemurians was carried on by the Incas for many centuries, and they were a peaceful peoples, and they were as near like unto the Lemurians as any peoples since. They were destroyed, as all goodness appears to be destroyed in life, because it is that the physical aspect of life is not by any means an important part. So many people deplore the overthrow of what they call goodness, but it is not the overthrow of the spirit of goodness, it is often the overthrow of the material aspect of goodness. And people find it difficult to understand and associate the ideas that we try to instill repeatedly. To do good, to give out in love and in service, and do not even expect anything in return. That is truly giving and truly serving. Those who anticipate because they are good, or they have good thoughts, or do good deeds, that because of these things they shall in return be uplifted to a height and adored, are invariably under misapprehension. For those who serve and do good know that these things are only of importance in a spiritual sense. It is good to help materially, but it is not so much the material help that matters. It is the spiritual realization that you are doing something from within yourself that is of good. And these things are the things that are important and matter. As indeed the ancient Lemurians of the higher race, they had no thought within themselves of achieving in a material sense, though they made great progress materially inasmuch that they were able to harness the elements to some extent and able to utilize their spiritual knowledge to make manifest on earth certain spiritual truths and use of faculties. They did not use anything of a material nature for any base end, even in the sense of protecting themselves. Their protection came from their goodness and from their spiritual thought and being. And of course, in the material sense, they were overthrown. But that in itself is not so important. For all goodness appears on the surface to be overcome by the power which always seems so strong of evil. And these things are but temporary things. The evil does not last, but the goodness does. The evil disintegrates and disappears, but the goodness remains, and it is the goodness within humanity that uplifts it and makes all things possible to good. It is very difficult, extremely difficult, for us to give you detailed, to do what I would like to do, and detail, item by item, part by part, piece by piece, would mean that each session I would only be able to describe the smallest part of something which in itself took untold thousands of years to unfold in a family. It takes many years for the individuals to develop their characters, to their beings, to become people, to become individuals in one generation, to try to depict and describe a whole race of people and their way of life, and the things that they were able to do and achieve, to tell their history, which goes over many centuries and centuries of time, in a few hours is impossible. All one can hope to do is to trace the development of the human race, and above all, to point the way by their example of true progression in a spiritual sense, and the need and necessity for innumerable souls returning to earth again and again, fulfilling that part which they must and have to play, not only for themselves, but for the others, for those of their group, for those who are part of the plan that is set. For there is always law and there is always order. What seems chaos, what seems chaotic, what seems unjust, what seems unnecessary. Behind all these things which strike one often at the time, and as you look back through history, strike you as being incongruous and unnecessary, and foolish and unwise, in all these things there is a plan, there is law, there is order, there is strength where there seems to be weakness, and there is often where there seems to be no justice, great justice. The point is, of course, the tragedy of human beings surely lies in the fact that they themselves think, because they are what they are, that in a sense all shall go as they desire it, or think it should be fit for them. But it is not so, because man is not born into the world for selfish motives. He may develop selfish motives, he may become self-centered, he may concern himself with himself and think little of others. But the only way of spiritual progression is when you have forgotten self, and you have lived selflessly, and you have given freely, and then, surely and only then, do you begin to perceive the wisdom, do you begin to perceive the truth of life. All these nationalities and all these peoples and all that we have been in the past and all our lives and experiences, all linked together over centuries of time, all have been necessary, not only for our own unfoldment, but we must remember that we are necessary to others. We are necessary in their lives, that they might gain experience, that we might in some measure be of some help to them, though we may often feel failures. Often perhaps when we feel we have failed most, we have helped most, because many of the things that we do, many of the things that we are impressed to do, these things are essential, that others might find through our efforts, and perhaps even sometimes through our mistakes, our own salvation and our own development. We learn from others because we are part of others. And that is where we come again to the root souls, when we can realize that we are all one spirit, all part of one vital living force, and that for a moment of time we become, through the physical bodies, outward shells, we become individuals, because it is necessary for us to partake of an earthly existence, to assimilate certain truths and knowledge, and to give to others, in varying ways and degrees, something that perhaps only we can give, and perhaps not even we realizing fully what it is. Sometimes we don't know how and why we fit in, or why we should be. Only time, through aeons of time, do we begin to perceive, and now we are new in sufficient to understand that when we can realize that we are not just bodies in each incarnation, but we are spiritual beings, that we are fired, as it were, with a life-giving force, which makes it possible for us to transmit as instruments, as truly we are, even though we are not, as you term it, mediums. We are transmitting love, we are transmitting experience, we are transmitting in our lives examples to others, and by those things that we give to them, we are setting for them also, as it were, something by which they can climb and experience accordingly. Whether it is our lives in ancient Lemuria, or whether it is our lives in ancient Egypt, or in ancient Rome, or whether it is in some other existence, I can assure you that in each one we have been led to give our part. We have been led to give something which was vital and necessary at that particular time, not only for ourselves but for others linked with us. And as we grow individually and spiritually become more wise, more experienced, so we begin to realize how little we need the earth, and gradually we emerge like the butterfly from the chrysalis, and we are freed of the earth to live on. And so it is that we have our new being in a world where all is perfect, and in consequence we join again with a group, and in that group of which we become such a vital part, we are conscious of the perfect life, because we are in perfect harmony and in perfect peace, because all those who partake of this life which has been prepared have made it possible by their efforts, and each one is part of the other, and in this harmonious whole we find that which is commonly termed paradise. But all must work for it, and none can work alone. All must work together in harmony and in love to bring it into being. That is why I say to you that you are finishing shortly your earthly span, and you shall then be released of the earthly existence and condition, and you shall enter into that perfect place where you shall be in complete harmony and in love, in oneness with all those souls who have been so much to you and you to them in past ages and times. In other words, you will have made for yourself your place, as indeed are others still on earth, moving slowly but surely to that same goal. Some are not yet aware of it. Others are conscious of it and are doing their utmost and their best, and they are serving in their respective ways, and some are perhaps serving in a blind sense, but nevertheless they are serving. And each and every one eventually will find their own sphere or strata of being, or paradise, or call it what you will, of their own environment, on their own vibration, and their own condition, that automatically they will enter and become part of, and dwell in a peace and a harmony which can only exist for that particular group. And that is why I say to you that this group of which we speak is not a few people, is not 2 or 3 or a dozen, but untold thousands upon thousands upon thousands of souls. But that does not mean to suggest or say that because we are all of that same group, that we have all known each other through varying ages, because it isn't always necessary for some lives to entwine or to cross. There are many, many souls who have never met on earth, and yet they themselves, within their own sphere, by their own raising of themselves through evolution of time, have brought into being their own auric emanation, which blends and harmonizes with others. And that is why when we talk about the perfect peace of the spirit, we must always remember that this is a state of being, of mind, attuned, or minds attuned, in complete love, in complete harmony, completely at peace one with the other. We are in the strata of condition which is so perfect in itself, because we, through all our journeyings and experiences of time, have made it so. You see, man does not realize that while he is treading the path of earth, in a sense, he is preparing the condition of spirit. A man is no more or less than his state of mind. I know that you can say to me, if this is so, why is it that even people we like most, who have much to recommend them, why is it that sometimes they show certain aspects of their nature which are contrary, which are difficult to understand and appreciate, which do not seem right for them? But we must remember this, that we do not judge or accept a man in one age by the man as you see him in the material sense. We know of the weaknesses, but it is because of the weaknesses often that we recognize the strength, and the part that is the lesser, which is the physical, is gradually, eventually submerged, and that which is the better, the wiser, and the more spiritual, they are the parts of the nature that return and exist here, have their meaning and their being. That is why when one tries to explain to you about individuals or spiritual beings, when sometimes people no doubt say, well, how should I recognize my mother, or how should I recognize my father, if so much is changed? But what it is that matters is not the outer shape or form, which does exist with us, which we can adopt at will, but what really matters is that you are in that auric condition, in harmony and in tune and in love with the individual's true self, which you will recognize automatically. It isn't just a matter of face and figure. It isn't a matter of speech. I know these things, and when you are in the material world, are vital and important to you. It is your way of knowing each other, recognizing each other. It is something that you look forward to in communication, and you can say, I recognize so-and-so's intonation, and I recognize this or that. But these are merely things, in a sense, that are brought to a material level so that you can grasp in the beginning and seek further afield later. What is important is that all that is good in all the varying lives that one has lived, all that remains, and all that is of the worser self is submerged and eventually disappears and is forgotten. Only one can explain. You see, in all these varying lives which we have lived, we have experienced much, but we must remember that we could not have become what we have become. We could not, in consequence, have created a condition of life for ourselves of such harmony and such peace unless we'd done all the things that we've done. If we had not contributed towards all the lives of others that are near and dear to us, and even those that perhaps we are hardly conscious of at the time, because all the time we are, as it were, putting into the world, while we are living an earthly existence, something which transforms not only ourselves but others. We are taking and we are giving. We are exchanging all the time from within our innermost souls. That's something which is imperishable. That's something which is eternal, which is the true you, the true me. We think far too much when on earth of certain aspects of life, of certain things, and yet in our hearts and our thoughts and our realization we know that these are not the realities. They are but the shadows which must surely pass from us. All the great teachers and the great philosophers have spoken of these things, of trying to show man the true path, trying to make him realize that it is that within himself that is imperishable, and what you put into life that is good, you take from it, and that which you do for others eventually transforms yourself in spirit, because it is always of the eternal that we speak. It is why all the ancient ages and races and peoples and times have been important. Nothing has been lost. Though there is much that one may regret, though there are many things that when one thinks deeply about them appall us, we realize that man can only grow when he has experienced all things, and in his experience has learnt what to reject and what to retain. And it is this retaining that matters, so that when you come here, your consciousness will be such that you will retain and remember all that is good of all lives, all experiences. You will understand the wisdom behind many things which seemed at the time obscure and on earth, and often pointless and purposeless. And in this perfect existence, where true love reigns, where harmony prevails, where all that is good exists, you will find in such perfect bliss, such perfect peace and such perfect joy, in such harmony and in such complete oneness with all those who have been so important to you and you to them. It will be as if you are caught up in something which is so tremendous in itself that you will automatically, in spite of it, be so much part of it. Because though at first you will be amazed, though at first you will wonder as all others wonder who come to the realms of spirit, you will soon feel the harmony that flows, and you will soon feel the peace that exists, and all the things that your heart desires will be yours. All the things that you desire to do that are truly good will be possible. I cannot explain, and no matter how much I may want to try, and I do, to explain so much to you, or to any other soul on earth, I can only say this, that whatever your lives may have been, whatever tragedies may have befallen you, or so they may have seemed at the time, no matter how great the burden you may have had to carry, No matter how heavy may have been your heart, no matter how lonely may have been the path, no matter how weak you may have felt, out of all this comes the purification of the Spirit, and the upsurging and uplifting of the Spirit, and the great joy that you shall find when your tasks are finished will more than repay you for all the sadness and the disappointments of life. And when you truly learn that service, and true service of that in love, true love, when you realize that by giving from yourself completely and absolutely, when you allow that part which is of God to manifest, there can be no cause for any tears or sadness, for those who truly serve reveal God, reveal His purpose, and give to those who seek that truth that they eagerly desire. But only those who truly seek shall truly find. Only those who truly serve shall truly find for themselves that peace of the Spirit. Because in all races, through all times, those who have sought truth have only found it when they have, as it were, lost themselves in love, doing the will of the Most High. I know that you are most anxious, child, for me to discuss intimately and purposefully and in detail much that has transpired. I have told you in the past that this shall be my effort and my work, not just for you, but for all who shall listen. This I shall do, but I can only do it gradually, in one way, the right way. Be patient with me as I've asked you to be. At the same time, there will be much that at times will be difficult to comprehend. For all mysteries of life are difficult when on earth to understand. And though we in the Spirit come to you to reveal truth, we realize that there is much that will be difficult to explain, and we can only hope to do it in part. But that little illumination that we can give will be sufficient light for many to find the way and the true path. We come to break down the barriers that man has built in his foolishness and his ignorance. We come to show the path of true illumination. We come to bring the power of the Holy Spirit among the children of the earth. And we come to reveal God's wisdom to those whose minds are open to receive, who will banish from themselves all the falsities which for so long have held us sway, when they themselves will give us the opportunity to place their foot on the rock of truth. There are no seas that can wash them away or submerge them, for that rock upon which we shall build is a great spiritual strength that shall withstand all the forces of evil. You, my child, have been greatly blessed, greater than you will ever know one yet on earth, but you have been given an inner truth, an inner knowledge, an inner strength that many, many servants in your world would desire if they but realized it too. Be patient. Give unto us the time and the opportunity, and in our own way we will do all in our power to bring you that which your heart desires and that which you seek to know. My peace, my love be with you, and upon all those who listen to my voice. Seek, it has been said, and ye shall find. How true are the words of the wise one. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. And those of you who have knocked, the door is being opened, and you shall see a vista of great loveliness, and you shall tread the paths of truth and of righteousness in the